Oh. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. So we were seeing the Purva Mimamsaka's point of view that Krishna Karma Krit means just knowing that when you do Nitya Naimittika Karma, it does not produce any result, whereas omitting to do it, not doing it, will incur sin. So therefore, Shankara says, if that is the case, then just by knowing it, it should not be Krishna Karma Krit, it should be known as Krishna Karma Vid Bhavati. Because, and he says, it's not just knowing it as a concept, but jnana is what is talked about here. Jnana of what is karma and what is akarma. Mere knowledge does not produce results. Doing something produces results. Therefore, how can then you say that the person is Krishna Karma Krit? There is nothing to be done, only to be seen. Krishna Karma Krit refers to a person of fulfillment, one who has achieved everything, a liberated person, a Mukta Purusha. Krishna makes this point clear, not only here, but before also, when he said that he would tell Arjuna about action and inaction, knowing which one is liberated. Tatte karma pravakshyami yajñatva mokshase ashubhat. Had there been anything to be done, Krishna would have used the expression yat kritva, doing which, and not yat jnatva, knowing which. In analysis, mimamsa, which has been said before, must always be kept in mind. What has been said before must always be kept in mind. Otherwise, there would be no analysis. When Krishna says knowing which, he meant knowing what karma is and what akarma is, which is not as easy as you may think. Karma is not to be taken as merely performing action, nor is akarma to be taken as not doing action. The real nature of karma and akarma is something that has to be understood by you, knowing which you will be released from all punya and papa that is inauspicious. The Purva Mimamsaka says that you have to do karma, but what is said here is that by knowing the nature of karma and akarma, you are released from all punya and papa. This is what is meant by Vakyartha Vichara, inquiry into the sentence. The inquiry is done to find out what the sentence means and whether it has any other meaning. If there is any other meaning possible, it will reveal a philosophy, a stand. Here, a particular stand is analyzed by Shankara and then dismissed as not being what was intended, as not being the meaning of the sentence. In this verse, Krishna is referring to knowledge alone. His description of one who has this knowledge continues in the next verse. So what Shankara did in the last few pages was Vakyartha Vichara, inquiry into the sentence. And he took the stand of the Purva Mimamsaka, presented how the Purva Mimamsaka understands karma and akarma. According to the Purva Mimamsaka, karma does not, that is, karma in the sense, nitya karma, nitya naimitika karma, does not produce results. Only akarma produces results. Akarma means not doing prescribed action. So their understanding is that at the end, because you do not accrue any punya when you do nitya naimitika karma, and if you are avoiding doing things that are not to be done, you don't acquire any papa. So at the end of your life, it is neutralized, and then therefore that is moksha. So the Purva Mimamsaka stand is that only by doing karma, you attain moksha. So it's a karma-based philosophy. Whereas Vedanta is what? Jnana-based philosophy. So that doesn't say. So the understanding that Advaita has, that the Uttara Mimamsa, I would not say Advaita, Uttara Mimamsa has is what? There is nothing to be done, only to be seen and understood. Yet Jnatva, and Krishna himself says it. That is why here Shankara says, Swamiji says, when you're analyzing, you will have to go back to previous references. Otherwise, there is no analysis. So previously Krishna said, Yat Jnatva Mokshase Ashubhat. He did not say Yat Kritva. Not after doing, you will get moksha. He says, after knowing, you will be liberated. So knowing what karma is, knowing what akarma is. And what is that knowledge that we learned? That the Atma is akarta and therefore abhokta. And that seeing action in inaction and inaction in action. So seeing that actionless, that the Atma is actionless. So let me know if you want a repeat of this, or else we will do a bit of Manana before we go on to the next verse.
Please repeat.
So there is nothing to be done, only to be seen. Kritsna Karma Krit refers to a person of fulfillment, one who has achieved everything, a liberated person, a Mukta Purusha. This we have seen at length in the earlier paragraphs, right? Kritsna Karma Krit means the person has attained that fulfillment. He comes from that space of fullness, Purnatva. And when that is the case, there is nothing left for him to do. It's a different thing that he does. Jivan Mukta will continue to act and do things. Does not mean he's not fulfilled. Through knowledge, he has attained that state where he is full. So there is nothing else left for him to do. Krishna makes this point clear, not only here, but before also, when he said that he would tell Arjuna about action and inaction, knowing which one is liberated. Tatte karma pravakshyami yad jnatva mokshase ashubhat. Had there been anything to be done, Krishna would have used the expression yat kritva, doing which, and not yat jnatva, knowing which. In analysis Mimamsa, what has been said before must always be kept in mind. Otherwise, there would be no analysis. When Krishna says knowing which, he meant knowing what karma is and what akarma is, which is not as easy as you may think. Karma is not to be taken as merely performing action, nor is akarma to be taken as not doing action. The real nature of karma and akarma is something that has to be understood by you. Knowing which you will be released from all punya and papa, that is inauspicious. The Purva Mimamsaka says that you have to do karma, but what is said here is that by knowing the nature of karma and akarma, you are released from all punya and papa. This is what is meant by Vakyartha Vichara, inquiry into the sentence. The inquiry is done to find out what the sentence means and whether it has any other meaning. If there is any other meaning possible, it will reveal a philosophy, a stand. Here, a particular stand is analyzed by Shankara and then dismissed as not being what was intended, as not being the meaning of the sentence. In this verse, Krishna is referring to knowledge alone, his description of one who has this knowledge continues in the next verse. So can we just recollect what this verse, first of all? This verse is the 18th verse. The 18th verse. Very important verse with respect to understanding of what karma and akarma is. Karmanya. Second. Karmanyah karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sa buddhiman manusyeshu sa yuktah kritsna karma krit. So one who sees action in inaction and inaction in action, he is a buddhiman. And he is someone who is completed. He's done everything that is to be done. Let's reflect on our understanding of this before we go on to the next verse.
Here it is said karma and akarma should not be seen as actions, but what it is. And then you will be spared from the papa and punya. So knowing what is karma and akarma.
Yeah, you will be liberated from the cycle of punya and papa. Yat jnatva tatte karma pravakshami yat jnatva mokshase ashubhat. So this thing here, mokshase, it's actually a sandhi there. Mokshase ashubhat. Ashubhat is what? The cycle of the samsara is considered inauspicious. Why? Because it has the cycle of birth and death, which continues. And we have seen karma means there is a karta. Karta and a bhokta, both are required when you talk of karma. Right? So let's just go back to we'll just read the headings of a para, so then we will recollect what Swamiji has been explaining at length about what action and inaction is. See, when there is no doer, there is no action. So the Veda, when they say karta, when they talk of karma, they are actually addressing the karta, not the akarta, not the atma. Because a person who's a jnani is already fulfilled. There is nothing left for him to do. So, 1 second, I'll just go back and just read the knowledge and error cannot coexist.
So Krishna karma, then what that sentence?
Kritsna karma krit.
He is contented, he knows, he is buddhiman because he knows the karma, karma. That's how he is Jivan Mukta.
Actually, we went through quite a lot of I'm neither the doer nor the enjoyer. definition of Mithya and Satya. And we've been on this shloka for almost the last week plus. How to get rid of the orbit of samsara. Samsara is a notion. Samsara is centered on doership.
There was a line, no, that the Vedas address only the karma yogi and the person who performs the action to accomplish some desirable end. Whereas the jnani, it is not for the jnani because both of them have kartritva doership. Whereas the jnani, he sees inaction, so he is not addressed by Vedas.
Yeah.
Because he sees Atma as a karta.
Correct. The Veda addresses the karta.
It was in the heading of there is no karma yoga for the jnani.
Correct.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, such a long verse. This is. Yeah, see, the one who sees actionlessness in action and action in actionlessness is wise among human beings. That person is a yogi who has done everything that is to be done. So Shankara himself wrote an extensive bhashya, and no wonder, because Swamiji has based his Gita home study on Shankara bhashya. And therefore, this verse is pretty long, running into several pages. So let us recollect. See, we've gone at length to this. So each one recollects our understanding, and then we would have had the gist of this. Otherwise, it's only like listening to some words.
We can go through the titles also from this verse.
Yeah. So even the learned are confused about karma. Krishna said he would reveal to Arjuna the nature of karma, which implies akarma also, knowing which he would be liberated from doubt from samsara. What is to be done and what is not to be done are both considered to be karma. See now, this is the Uttara Mimamsa's point of view, whereas Purva Mimamsa's point of view is what? What is to be done is karma, and if you do not do what is to be done, that is akarma. But here, both are considered as karma. Killing, for example, and helping someone are two different actions. Killing is a prohibited action, nishiddha karma, and helping other person is an enjoined karma, vihita karma. Nishiddha or nishedha karma, both mean the same. So, a command vidhi is always with reference to an action, either to do it or not to do it. Because one may hurt another, the Shruti enjoins us not to hurt anyone. May one not drink alcohol, may one not eat. So these are the dictates given by the Shruti. These are the injunctions or don'ts with reference to the actions one performs. Similarly, there are a number of commands concerning the do's, the actions that are to be done. Actually, it might be a good idea to just go through this one more time so that we have this clear in our mind. I know we've done a lot of repetitions before, para by para, but it is well worth now, because towards the end, the Purva Mimamsaka stand is brought in. When we go through the first initial explanation of the Shankara Bhashya in the true light of Vedanta, and then take a look at what Purva Mimamsaka says, then it will be that there will be that clarity. Also, before we go further, I just have a request. Tomorrow, up until Friday, if there is anyone to step in to read, please come forward. Otherwise, we can take a break for 3 days and then come back on Saturday. I've just wanted to mention so that I don't forget it towards the end of the session. So there is akarma is also to be understood in terms of karma. Akarma is akarma simply not doing action. A lot of examples were given with respect to akarma, right? So just standing. If a man is walking and just stops walking, let me read this. So akarma is also to be understood in terms of karma. Is akarma simply not doing action, or is it something more? The very nature of action, its swarupa, is what we are trying to understand here. Only when action is properly understood can one understand what non-action or the absence of action is. People generally understand the absence of action as not doing action. If you do not do something, this non-performance is the absence of action. When a man who is walking stops walking, the action of walking has stopped. This is a standstill, no action. But standing still is also an action. Try standing still and you will understand how difficult an action is. How difficult an action it is. Similarly, sitting still is an action, which is why you cannot do it for very long. To think that you're going to gain inaction by sitting still is to be deluded. There is no such inaction, in fact. So when you look at it, only that particular action, whatever you've done, has stopped. But that translates into, it moves on into another form of action. Lying down, not doing anything. You might think it is inaction, but lying down itself is an action. To think that not performing action is inaction is no different than thinking that printing more currency will resolve a country's tight money situation. Such a simplistic approach cannot solve the problem and will create additional problems because it is not that easy. Similarly, to understand inaction is not as easy as it seems. What Krishna says in this verse is in keeping with what he had said earlier in the second, third, and fourth chapters. Although the present verse is very cryptic, it can be understood by keeping in mind what has gone before. Another description of a wise person. Krishna here describes a person who could see inaction in action and action in inaction. What kind of a person is this? If he or she sees a man walking, does the person see him as standing still? And if he is standing still, does the person see him as walking? This is like watching someone eating and having the person tell you that he or she is not eating at all. Usually, we would think that such a person was mentally deranged in some way. But here, Krishna says that one who sees action in inaction, and inaction in action is a wise person, buddhiman. Then, to top off the confusion, Krishna goes on to say that such a person is a kritsna karma krit, someone who has done everything that is to be done. This means that there is nothing more for this person to do. He or she is free, whereas for others, there remains a long list of to be dones and not to be dones. Here, what is that story that comes to mind? When a person is actually eating, but he says, I'm not eating. It's a story of Durvasa and his disciples who go to this ashram to eat. And then after having eaten all of that, they've completed all eating everything. And then he says, I have not eaten anything. And same thing with Krishna, who says,
Yeah, tell the Gopi, she tells if I'm brahmachari,
yeah,
Yamuna will open.
correct. Whereas he's married, what, 32,000, he supposedly has 32,000, 16,000, not 32,000 wives, right? So that requires a deeper understanding of what karma and akarma is. Just give me a second.
The other side. Extra Makarasan for extra effort that when you're people later.
Just give me 1 second, huh? 1 minute. Sorry about that interruption. So what was that when Krishna says, the gopis, someone want to cross the Yamuna river, which is in spade, he tells them that if you say that Krishna is a, what is that? Brahmachari. What brahmachari? Nitya brahmachari. Then it will give way to you. Whereas in that so-called reality, he was already married. So one who sees action in inaction and inaction in action is a wise person, buddhiman. So this is a matter of understanding. It is to be seen and not to be, there's nothing to be done over there. This list, as long as it exists, and then he's also a person who is a Kritsna Karma Krit, someone who has done everything that is to be done. This list, as long as it exists, is to be done and not to be done, is unending, because the items to be done and not to be done are difficult to fulfill. What you ought to do is not always possible to do. Nor can you always avoid doing or saying what is not to be done or said. Also, the to be dones and not to be dones go on increasing. With reference to the food one eats or personal ambitions, for example, there are a number of things to be done and not to be done. Like this, everyone has a long list, and even if some of the items are fulfilled, so many others pop up in their place. Some items on the list are very clear to you, while others may be vague. Still, they are there below the surface and will become clearer in time, like a Polaroid film. This then is the situation for everyone. Here Krishna describes the person who has managed to fulfill all the items on the list as being one able to see action in inaction and inaction in action. He praises such a person and refers to him or her as being wise, buddhiman. If seeing is all that one has to do to be wise, the seeing itself must be very difficult.
That was meaning right away.
Can you just mute yourself, whoever is getting unmuted? The words themselves reveal the difficulty. How can I see action in inaction and inaction in action? So here, if you understand, if you can just extrapolate the whole samsara, here we are doing every action produces a result, either drishtafala or adrishtafala. And drishtafala, of course, you go through that the result then and there, but adrishtafala accrues. It gets added to our sanchita. It becomes agami karma, the future karma, and then adds on to the sanchita karma. And in order to complete that or exhaust that, one takes a bit of that as prarabdha karma and is born again into this world. So you see, the samsaric cycle is continuing with every action that we do, whether action or inaction. Because inaction is not as simple as not doing any action. Because not doing also is an action in itself. So, understanding what karma is and what akarma is, the truest sense, that person is considered one who understands is considered a buddhiman. And not only buddhiman, he is one who has done everything that is to be done. So what is he? He has reach that state where he is free from the cycle. Yat jnatva mokshase ashubhat. So he is freeing himself from the cycle of karma, karma phala, the result, and this whole cycle of samsara. So that seeing is difficult. So how do we understand that? Inaction, inaction. The usual locative case meaning for the word in the expressions inaction, inaction, and action in inaction does not apply here. So this is something that we have to keep in mind when we understand this shloka. When we say, where is he sitting? The response on the ground denotes a location where the action of sitting is taken place. Similarly is the case with the statement, the book is in my hand. However, here Shankara dismisses any sense of location with reference to action and inaction, saying that action cannot become the location or the basis for inaction. Inaction being the absence of action, it is not there to be located upon action. So you see, when we normally understand the verse, literal meaning, we understand seeing action in inaction and inaction in action. We understand it with respect to the location. And in the very beginning, Shankara is taking that concept of. It's only with reference to, from the standpoint of karma. It is not with reference to the location. So when we keep this in mind, then whenever next we come back to this verse, we will get the actual meaning. So it is only with reference to. Inaction does not exist. We cannot say that a non-existent inaction sits upon action, just as we cannot talk about the horns that sit on our heads. Horns do not exist for us, and what does not exist cannot be said to be sitting anywhere. Similarly, we cannot say that the son of a woman who never gave birth to a child, Vandhyaputra, is sitting on the ground because there is no such person. In the same way, inaction, being the absence of action, does not exist for it to have any location. Therefore, action cannot be the basis for inaction, nor can that which does not exist, inaction, be the basis for action. Therefore, the use of the locative case here is not to be taken in its usual sense. Rather, it means with reference to. With reference to action, this person is able to see inaction. And with reference to inaction, he or she can see action. So this is one firm understanding we all should get. That it is not the usual, the preposition that in is to be understood as with reference to. In the absence of action, karma abhava, the wise see action. And in the so-called action, they see no action at all. When you perform an action, there is the notion, I perform an action, aham karomi. What is involved in this I perform an action? What is this action that you're doing? When you say I am talking or I am walking, the talking and the walking are actions centered on what? This then is the question. So he talks now, he brings in the concept of ego, right? So when you say I walk, Your legs and feet are involved in the action of walking. The mind is also involved. There having been a decision, a sankalpa, to perform the action of walking. Without a sankalpa, you do not perform a deliberate action. There is always a thought, a desire involved. So, in the action of walking, the mind is involved, the legs and feet are involved, and even the eyes are involved. And when you say, I perform an action, aham karomi, aham is also involved. In this process, the mind, senses, and the physical body are all involved. The physical body is called karya in Sanskrit, meaning product. And the mind and senses are called karana, meaning instrument. This assemblage of karya and karana is involved in the action that belongs to me. That is why I say I perform this action. The I is also implied in action. I meaning Atma. So now, little by little, layer by layer, Swamiji is going to unfold. See, action involves so many things. You cannot say, when you're saying, I am walking, who is the one who's walking? Is it the legs? Is it the muscles? The feet? The mind? Where can you pinpoint the karta? So finally, all these are involved. There is karya, the one that is the physical body, and karana, the instruments. And then finally, you also have I, that is Atma. The results of action belong to the doer. And why do I perform this action? I perform an action for a certain result. And when the result comes, to whom does it go? Whom does it affect? It comes to me, the one who is the karta, the doer. Therefore, as the doer, I am the enjoyer. I perform this action for the sake of getting the desired result. Karma phala bhogaya aham idam karomi. In this way, we see that action involves the karya karana sanghata, the physical body mind sense complex, and also aham, I, the Atma. When I say I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, etc., on whom is the doership and enjoyership centered? It is centered on myself. The question that arises then is the I, the Atma, a doer or a non-doer? A karta or an akarta? If Atma is a karta, then I definitely perform action, karma, which produces a result for me. This is real karma, binding karma. No action is possible without there being an agent, doer of the action, a karta. For example, when we say Rama goes, Ramaha gacchati, the going is done by Rama, the agent of the action of going. And although action is dependent on its agent, the agent is not dependent on action. This means that the agent, the doer, has a choice in terms of action. He or she can perform an action, need not perform the action, or can perform the action differently. That is kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, and anyatha va kartum shakyam. This independent doer, the karta, who enjoys such freedom in terms of action, is what is reflected by the first or nominative case in Sanskrit, prathama karaka. There are a number of factors other than agency that are also connected to action. Whatever is connected to an action, because of which the action is made possible, is called karaka. There are 6 kinds of karakas. The agent of the action being the first or prathama karaka as we saw above. Then there is the object of an action. When Rama goes, Rama gacchati. Where does he go? He goes to the forest. Vanam gacchati. Forest being the object of the action of Rama's going. Thus, we have a doer and an object of doing. Karta and karma. Referred to grammatically as the nominative and accusative, first and second cases. Then, how does Rama go to the forest? Does he go on foot or does he go in a chariot? What is the means of his going? The means by which he goes on foot is the third karaka or instrumental case. And why does he go? What is the purpose of his going? Rama went to the forest to fulfill the words of his father. Pitruvakya Paripalanaya, giving us the fourth karaka or dative case. From where does he go? From which place? From the city of Ayodhya. Ayodhya Nagarat. He went to the forest. This gives us the fifth karaka or ablative case, since it is also connected to the verb, the action of going. The final karaka is the locative case, as in Rama lived in the forest. Ramaha Vane Avasat. Here, forest is in the seventh case, expressing location.
So 6 karakas for the action or
or any
non
action. Correct. So who is doing it? So what is the object? Where is he? For instance, if going is an action, where is he going? If he is doing, what is he doing? That becomes the object. And then with what is he doing? From where is he going? So all these how, why, where, what,
why.
So all these come under the 6. Actually, there are 7 cases. The second case is you're calling him, Hey Rama, Hey Rama, Hey Rama, Hey Rama. But otherwise, there are 6 cases, including the second. It becomes 7. So an action is so complicated in the sense it is not simple. Of course, the doer is required, but along with the doer, you have the whole gamut of other things that are involved. So you have the karya, the physical body that does, and the karana, the mind and senses. Not doing karma also requires a doer. Returning now to the first karaka, the karta, Shankara says that whether you say, I did this action or I did not do this action, the I, the ahankara, is involved. Both the doing, pravritti, and the not doing, nivritti, are centered on ahankara, the karta. Therefore, if I am the karta, I am the karta in both action as well as inaction. Because the I is coming up. So it is centered on ahankara. But if I am not the karta, then there is no action at all for me, because all action depends upon the karta. If I am someone who is not an actor, then I perform no action. Na kinchit karma karomi. The I is always free from action. It does not do any action. Atma neither does an action nor impels or prompts anything to act. Na karoti, na karayati. Mistaking action for inaction and inaction for action. We have a few minutes before we close, so maybe we'll park it here. We can continue taking this tomorrow. Let us understand, let us share our understanding so far, thus far. So it is not easy to see, to understand what karma is and what akarma is. And one who knows this, who sees this, in reality is a buddhiman and is someone who is Krishna karma krit. He is liberated from the whole cycle of action and the result of action. He has nothing else left to do. Because his seed, karma seed, is burnt out. If at all he is doing, it is only to exhaust the prarabdha. But from the standpoint, and then from the standpoint of action, inaction, seeing action in inaction, and inaction in action is not the literal locative case. That is why, for me, this is what happened. When at the end of the whole thing, when I came back to understanding action and inaction, naturally the mind goes to the locative case. Or seeing action in inaction and inaction in action. So it tends to put inaction on action. Like you're putting something on the table. The book is on the table. It is not like that. It is with reference to action, seeing inaction. And with reference to inaction, seeing action. So it is not one on top of the other, but keeping that in mind, seeing what action with respect to inaction is. So we'll stop here. And for tomorrow, just keep a watch in the group. In case we're able to have someone read, we can continue from this page, which is page, what is the page number? I think page number 80. Yeah, if not, maybe one of you can play the recording or take a break. We'll see what is the best thing to do based on responses. So for now, we will stop here. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. I think Bela is not there today to sing. That's fine. So we'll close here. Okay. Jai Gurudev.